now time to start our meeting. Got quite a full house here. Good to see everyone. All right, let's get it started here right now. Rich is out today. He got a death in the family, so he will not be attending for the weekend. He lost his father-in-law. I guess we pass it on. I guess we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone stand up, and I think we fixed a little flag. It's right over here now. Okay. So let's get started here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I was wondering if you want to go over the treasury. That's usually what we do next, correct?
All right, we have a great guest speaker, so I won't bore you very long with the financials. But our club's doing well. We've got about 3,200 right now. A lot of that's going to be going toward the seated hunt, which I think we'll talk about here in a little while. But I do encourage you to continue buying raffle tickets. That helps our club. That gives us the funds we need to do things like the seated hunt. Also, if you've not purchased a membership for this year, you can see Al in the back, and he will take care of you. The seated hunt is for members only, so you will need a membership. If you have any questions on the financials, please let me know.
All right, speaking of the seated hunt, I was going to go over that with you guys. We'll be having the seated hunt out at Oriana, Idaho. And this will be at my folks' place. They don't have an address out there, but Oriana is about an hour and 13 minutes south of Boise. We will be having signs out there. If you look up Oriana, the church's name, this will get you pretty much to my parents' place. It's called Our Lady Queen of Heaven Church. I'll post something on there on Facebook, and maybe we'll send out, have Jason send out a reminder to our slug bell there. It's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have a lot of good things out there. And the hunt will be June 15th. And I believe it's going to be starting at 9 in the morning, if I remember correctly. And yeah, we'll have some signs pointing out to exactly where our parents' house. It's like a minute from the church. And then Rich also asked me to cover for you guys. I guess we were invited to a free metal detecting hunt for members. He received an offer from Blue Bucket, which is in Oregon. And this will be happening on May 30th and 31st. Garrett will be on site and we'll have swag as well as coaching on all their machines. Reservations are needed, space is limited. Rich asked me to call his number. You can find the post on Facebook with his phone number to get the invitation to this event. Okay, and then we're going to have a great guest here Peggy picked up for us. His name is Chris, I believe, correct? Yeah, and he works, or is still working at Rose Hill? Did work at Rose Hill. He's the one that was giving out all these cool coins for everyone here. He's going to do a presentation on coins for us. He'll have to come up and introduce himself real quick.
Well, hi.
I think you might have been aiming like straight like that.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Chris. I'm originally from Salem, Oregon. Went in the Air Force for 21 years as a munitions specialist and retired here in Idaho and worked for the state for a while and worked off and on for Rose Hill for at least 20 years. So
So a lot of coins. And that's what I'm here talking about tonight. I'm going to talk about United States coins and United States paper. And basically, I guess the best way to start this would be why did America make coins? And the answer is this North American continent that we're living on has always been a destination. People from all over the world have come here, and with them, they brought their coins and their paper. So for a long period of time, people were either bartering with food or tools or weapons or coins from other countries. And once cities or towns, large towns, were established, banks would start to come up, and the banks would print out monthly sheets telling what the values of the different world coins were.
I guess we need to change out the batteries.
Take a step
Oh,
forward.
you gotta be closer.
Not, just take a step forward from where you were.
Here?
Slightly out of range.
Okay. So basically, we had all these different world coins that were circulating here on the North American continent, and our founding fathers decided that that was slowing Congress, so they decided to pitch starting their own mint. And so that came about with the Mint Act of 1792. Of course, there were the colonies before that, and the colonies made their own money. And then when the main person that was credited with coming up with the Mint Act was Thomas Jefferson. And he was supported by George Washington and, of course, Benjamin Franklin. But Benjamin Franklin never saw it come through because he died in 1790. So the Mint Act came through. There were actually some coins that were made in 1792, but it's not generally believed that they were made at a mint. They were made in somebody's own workshop or metal shop. The famous coin of 1792 is the half dime, and there's stories associated with that, which may or may not be true. It can't really be proven. But one of the stories with the 1792 half dime is that the silver for that dime came from George Washington's silver tea set. And the other story is that the effigy on the front representing liberty is a portrait of Martha Washington. So those are the two stories associated with that. Whether or not they're true or not, it can't be proven. So then the Mint Act went through 1792, and then of course the Philadelphia Mint was built. And that was our very first government building, the Philadelphia Mint. And it was decided that they were going to make copper coins, silver coins, and gold coins. And our founding fathers decided that they were going to get the copper from of all places, England, who we were, trying to separate from. And they were going to get the silver and the gold to make silver and gold coins from the citizens. So people were asked to turn in anything that had silver or gold, and it was melted down. And those first early American silver and gold coins are coming from what people turned in at that time. So the Philadelphia Mint started up, And they also decided, our founding fathers decided, that the front of the coin should be an effigy of liberty. So you'll notice on all the early coins, there's a portrait of a woman representing liberty. And on the back of the coin, on the higher denomination coins, there's an eagle. And on the lower denomination coins, it's usually a wreath with the denomination in the middle of the wreath. So we had the Philadelphia Mint from 1793, and it's still in operation today. I don't know how many buildings they've been through. I think 4 or 5. And then the next mints that opened up, well, there was the New Orleans Mint in 1838, and they made silver and gold, and they were in operation until 1861. The Civil War shut them down. And we also had, but then they reopened a little bit later, 1879, and the New Orleans Mint was in operation until 1909. And then we had a couple of other mints, the Dahlonega Mint in Georgia, and then the Charlotte Mint in North Carolina. And those two mints, they only made lower denomination gold. $1 pieces, $2.50 pieces, $3 pieces. Actually, the Dahlonega Mint was the only one that made the $3 piece in 1854, and $5 pieces. And then they were shut down in 1861 by the Civil War. Then along came the Carson City Mint, 1870. Of course, I'm not forgetting the San Francisco Mint, which began operations in 1854. Carson City Mint, 1870 to 1893. San Francisco Mint, still in operation today, started in 1854. And some of the coins that came out of San Francisco, especially that first year, are very rare. And believe it or not, somebody was at a flea market a year or two ago, and they found a rare $5 gold piece that was actually from the San Francisco Mint that first year, 1854. I don't know what he paid for it at the flea market, but he sold it for $2 million. Carson City Mint, of course, they made silver coins and gold coins. Then, of course, we've got the Denver Mint, which began operations in 1906, still in operation today. And
Over here.
San Francisco Mint, the Denver Mint. And there's some neat old pictures of the Denver Mint, as it was about the only building standing after a devastating earthquake in 1906. So, again, I'm not sure how many buildings the Denver Mint has been through, but they're still there. And then there's the West Point Mint, which began operations in 1984. So we've got all these mints, and along with the mints, there were, I think, about 7 what they call assay offices throughout the country. And believe it or not, one of those assay offices was right here in Boise when it was a territory. And the building is still there. It's a historical building. And if you go down like Capitol Boulevard, like you're going towards the Capitol, you want to get up to Main Street and turn right. And and I think it's 210 Main Street. But it's a very historic building. It looks like it's from the early 1800s. But anyway, people that used to do mining in this area, they would take their findings to the assay office to be examined and weighed, and then they were paid with freshly minted coins. And there's a sign on that old assay office that says something like $70 million in gold coins went through that building or something like that. So, as far as paper goes, can anybody here tell me where our paper money is made? Anybody got a guess? Well, the main facility currently is in Washington, D.C. However, they've determined that that's outdated, and they don't really say a whole lot about it because they don't want people to know too much. But they're currently, I think they broke ground to build a brand new facility that's more updated in Beltsville, Maryland. And they're going to be building a brand new Bureau of Engraving and Printing facility in Maryland. Now, there is a secondary facility, and that's in Fort Worth, Texas. And if you kind of wonder ever where your paper money's coming from, if you look at your paper money down in if you have a $5 bill and you look down at the right-hand bottom corner in very microscopic, tiny letters, there'll be an FW if it came out of Fort Worth. And generally, the way that they make paper money today, the paper is a special type of paper, and I think they're looking at using plastics and some other materials to make it harder to counterfeit. And also, they're considering the blind, how maybe putting some braille on it for the blind so that they can tell what kind of paper money they got in their hands. What's that?
In Europe, all the notes are of different size.
You're right, they are. Yes, that's a very good point. He said that in Europe, the notes in some countries are different sizes so the blind can tell what note they have in their hand. Unfortunately, here in the United States, that isn't the case. So they're looking at, I don't know if they're going to do it, but they were certainly considering it, putting braille or something on the paper money so that a blind person can tell what they have. Normally, paper money is made in sheets of 32. However, they're talking about putting new machinery in the new facility that they're building in Maryland, and it's going to be able to do sheets of 50 at a whack. And if you look at your paper money and you notice it's like a letter or 2 letters, which is a block, and then it has 8 numbers, and then those letters again. And sometimes there's a star at the end of the serial numbers. And basically the star means that it's a replacement note in modern day paper. If they find a mistake or there's an error, they destroy those notes and then they remake them again only with a star. And some people collect star notes. There was a young man here not too many years ago who was on a college campus, and he went to the ATM machine and he pulled out, I think it was $200 in 20s, and he noticed on one of the 20s It had one of those stickers that you see on bananas, and I forget if it was Dole or something else. Well, anyway, the sticker was on the $20 bill, and the serial number was printed right over it. So that was a big time error. So he took it to the local coin dealer, and the coin dealer paid him $10,000 immediately for it. And then he turned around the next day and sold it for $25,000. That person put it in an auction, and it sold for like $340,000. So errors or mistakes, if they are genuine and real, they can be worth a lot. And the reason is because our government pays people a lot of money for quality assurance. They don't want errors or mistakes leaving the mints or the paper facilities. So that's why there's so much value to that. One time when I was working at Rose Hill Coin, this has been many years ago, a guy walked in the store. It was late in the afternoon on a Saturday afternoon, and the guy walked in the store and he had 3 $1 bills in his hand, and he had just come from Walmart right here in Boise. And he said, I just got these in change, but he said one of the $1 bills, all the serial numbers were the same number. They were all 8s. So he said, is that worth anything? Well, they paid him $700 for that dollar bill. And I think they sold it for like around $1,200. So, you know, most people don't even look at their paper, but, you know, maybe you will after this talk, I don't know. Anyway,
Hey Chris,
yeah,
didn't mean to interrupt you, but did you know that Idaho printed money for a short amount of time?
you're right, they did.
It was $2 bills, I think, out of Idaho City, was it?
Yeah, even Idaho made their own money. But getting back to the, you know, like the colonial days, the colonies made their own money. Massachusetts made their own coins, and they also made paper money around 1690. But it's believed that some of the first paper money that came to the United States, or came to America, came from a place called New France. And if you look at an old map of North America, New France was up in eastern Canada. And they took playing cards and they wrote on the back of playing cards, and that was their paper money. And that was around 1688. And I don't think there's any examples of that around today, but anyway, we've had all different kinds of paper money. We've had paper that was backed by silver, paper that was backed, and those were silver certificates. We had paper that was backed by gold certificates. We've had high denomination bills. They make, well, we've even had fractional currency. You know, the United States made 25-cent notes, 50-cent notes, $1 notes. And then, as far as the regular currency goes, we made $1 bills, which they still make today, $2 bills, $5 bills, $10 bills, $20 bills, $50 bills, $100 bills, and that's as high as they go today. But they used to make $1,000 bills, $500 bills, $5,000 bills, $10,000 bills, and that was the highest denomination. But they did actually make some $100,000 bills, but those were never released for regular use. The $100,000 bills were just between the government and banks. And they used to take some of those $100,000 bills to some of the big coin shows back east and show them off, you know. But, and there was a time that you could have gone to Las Vegas and there was an old casino there called Binion's Horseshoe. And when you walked into Binion's, the first thing they had was a big plastic horseshoe, and it was $1 million in cash, and it was all in $10,000 bills. And that, of course, was broken up, and some of those $10,000 bills, they went up for auction, and some of them were $100,000, $200,000 bills, depending on their condition. Speaking of condition, when it comes to value, we look at condition. And basically, every coin or piece of paper has certain things that you look for as far as the amount of detail that you can see. And I would say here, I would highly recommend to not clean your coins. I know some folks, maybe get a paintbrush and lightly brush it off or something. But I don't recommend taking it to the kitchen sink. And your silver coins, they'll shine up. But the silver coins will have this look to them, and it's basically a big neon sign that says, "I've been cleaned." And basically the only value with coins like that are the silver value that's in them. So I'd be very careful about cleaning your coins. I wouldn't recommend cleaning them. And also, I wanted to warn you about, there's a lot of bad things out there that, as far as television ads, I don't know if you stay up late and watch TV, I do sometimes, but some of these ads come on late at night. But you get some of these ads on TV, some of the magazines, some of the papers, they'll advertise stuff, and it's really not worth it. If you want to buy a decent coin, go to a coin shop. Some of these magazines and TV ads, it's not worth it. One of the recurring things I see on the television is they flash a $50 1-ounce bullion coin, the Buffalo, up there, and they offer it, well, they say $39.95, and then they scratch it out and they say it's now $9.95, $9.95. And it's not gold, it's just plated. And I can't tell you how many times when I was working at the coin shop, somebody brought one of those in, and it's obviously not real. And they're hoping to get, an ounce of gold price on it, and it's not gold. But they still sell those. There's other ads that I've seen, and it's just kind of scary, the stuff that they put out there. Similar to some of the coins that I handed out today, those I bought some years ago, and they're not really a lot of value in those coins. They're just neat because they're older designs. Indian head pennies, buffalo nickels, maybe some V nickels. But, some of the people in the newspapers and stuff, they'll try to sell you some of those same kind of coins for like a lot of money, and it's not worth it. So your best bet, if you want to invest in coins, I would go to a coin dealer, and I would ask the dealer if he's an A&A member. And most of the coin dealers are, and they are like Jeff Bean, who owns Rose Hill. He's been a member of the A&A for 45 years. So, other than that, I have something I wrote about coins. It's not really a poem, it's just something I wrote. And it goes like this. Old coin in my hand, where have you been? If only you could talk, the stories you could tell, the towns you have circulated through, towns that may no longer exist, the people who have touched you, people now perished from this earth. Decades ago, struck fresh at the mint, all shiny and new, then thrown in a cloth bag, rough ride in a strong box on the overland stage, arriving at a new bank on the frontier, neatly stacked with other coins on the counter, then paid out by the bank cashier. Jingling with other coins in a leather pocket, passing through muddy roads or wooden boardwalks, slammed down in a dark, smoky saloon, on a mahogany bar to buy a drink, or on a card table to up the ante, spent at a general store to buy newly arrived goods from afar, or to buy a piece of hard candy in a jar, given as a keepsake or as a birthday gift, carefully placed on a white linen handkerchief, and forever stored away in a drawer, or taken back to the bank and again thrown in a bag, locked away for decades in a cold, dark bank vault, possibly stolen from the bank as an outlaw's booty, fast riding on a horse to some desolate hideaway, buried, hidden, and long forgotten, or put in wooden crates aboard an ocean-going ship and lost at sea in a storm. Time marches on, and a new age has dawned. Pioneers and outlaws have long passed on. Their secrets are safe for eternity. The old coin has come into the new light of day in a world of fanciful flying machines and many paved roads with many horseless carriages. The old coin has come under a new eye. Modern collectors wonder where, how, and why. Oh, old coin in my hand, when will you die? And now, before I open it up to questions, I have a few stories from when I worked at Rose Hill years ago. Basically, in the last 30 years, maybe, or more, there have been 3 attempted robberies at Rose Hill. The most recent one was probably about a year ago. Some young guys came into the store and they had these big flat river rocks up under their shirts. And they walked up to the jewelry counters and they dropped the rocks into the jewelry counters. Of course, they weren't very good at picking what counter they were going to drop their rocks in. And then Rich, who works at the store, he grabbed one of the guns that they had there and fired it over their heads a few times, and the holes are in the walls there. And that scared them and they ran out. I think one of them opened the till and grabbed whatever he could and ran out. That was the most recent one and probably the most daring. And it kind of scares you. It makes me kind of glad I don't work there anymore. Another time, I used to go in the store in the morning and open it up. And another time I walked in and I noticed the back door looked weird. It was off its hinges and it was still locked and it was still in place, but it was jammed. So somebody during the night had gotten into the back area of the coin shop and they had been working on that door most of the night trying to get it open. And it's a big, heavy door, and it jammed, and that pretty much ended their adventures as trying to get in, and they just left. So we don't know what happened there. And then years before that, there was a young guy who thought he would get up on the roof and dig in. And he dug through, and he dug through, and he fell in. And he fell on one of the display cases, breaking it, and he probably broke some ribs too. And that set off all the alarms, and they came and hauled him off. And when I was working for the state, I happened to work with his sister, and she was telling me about her dumb old brother who did 10 years in the federal penitentiary for trying to rob Rose Hill. Another time when I walked into the coin shop, I used to open it up in the morning. When I walked in there, the mining supplies used to be in the back. And I walked in there, and at night they have a light left on, and I'd walk in the back, and I'd walk in and shut the alarm off, then walk to the back and turn all the lights on. Well, that one morning I turned on all the lights, and I was absolutely astonished at what I saw on the floor by the mining supplies. It was the biggest wolf spider I'd ever seen in my life. It was as big as my hand. I'm not kidding you. Jeff, I don't know if you know this, but Rose Hill used to be a grocery store. It was called New Way Foods back in the 50s. And for a lot of years, it looked like a store when you walked into it. But the owner, Jeff, he worked on it, changing the walls around, and he eventually has it looking the way it looks today, and it looks a lot more like a regular jewelry coin shop now. But every time he worked on those walls, he stirred up those spiders. And that one time I walked in, and there was a huge wolf spider. I'd never seen anything so big. I had been to Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and I'd seen camel spiders, and those things can jump 6 feet in the air. And I'd seen big spiders, but I didn't ever think that America had big spiders. But what I did, it was staying perfectly still. And I grabbed an old ammo can and dropped it on it. And I shouldn't have done that because it killed it, but wolf spiders carry their babies on their back. And I dropped that ammo can, and I saw all these little, it must have been hundreds of little microscopic dots falling away into the wall. So, and then I took the carcass. I should have called BSU science department or something. But I took the carcass outside, and the minute I threw it out there, a big bird came along and got it. So when Jeff got there, I told him the story, but I didn't have any proof. So another thing that happened while I was there years ago, there used to be this old guy that came into the coin shop, and he was always buying. We used to have a little container that we would put the really bad large cents in, and they're just big pieces of copper. And he would always come in and buy every large cent that was in that container. And he did this for years. And then I guess he was taking those large cents and he was dipping them in, he was gold plating them, and he was selling them back east as early gold pieces. And really, large cents don't look anything like early gold pieces, but he somehow was doing that until the FBI called him away. And when they told us about that, we were really surprised. I couldn't believe he was doing that. Another time, one of the highway crews came into the coin shop, and they had been doing, this was some years back, at least 20 years ago, and the highway crew consisted of 2 people, and they were working on the shoulder of Highway 21 as it goes out of Boise. And the one guy had a backhoe and he had dug down probably 5 feet or something like that. Well, anyway, they were getting ready to take a break and the sun came out and he noticed something glistening in the hole and he pulled out it was a $50 slug and a $20 piece, and they were both territorial pieces. And he brought them into the coin shop, and of course, they were pretty beat up, but Jeff paid him $5,000 each because they were rare territorial pieces. You don't see $50 slugs hardly ever, and it was unbelievable. I've got a lot of stories, but you know, it's just a lot of weird things have happened when I was there. And you know, like there was a guy, if you go to Rosehill Coins, you'll notice when you first pull up that in front of the front doors there's these 2 metal posts. Well, the reason those posts are there are because we had this 90-year-old man come up one time and he was driving a car from the 70s, and if you remember the cars from the 70s had these monster huge trunks that you could put everything in, and he was backing up and he almost hit the front doors, and anyway, the whole back of his car was loaded with his wife's jewelry. He was 90 and his wife had just passed away. So Jeff and I were looking through that, and it was all unbelievable jewelry. And I think Jeff paid him like $30,000 or $40,000 for all of it. You know, it was just unreal. It was a century. It was 100 years old. You know, a lot of this jewelry. And then, of course, we've had young couples come into the store. What happens is that somebody in a family collects coins, and then that person dies, and then the coins go to somebody that doesn't know anything about them, and then they come into the coin shop. And this young couple brought in a shoebox, and we looked at it, and there were some rare coins in there, and it was from this person that collected, and he passed away. Jeff looked through the box in 5 minutes and he said, "I'm getting my checkbook," and he wrote him a check for 30 grand. It was all neat stuff. So, that's about it. I'll open it up for any questions if anybody has any questions. Yes?
What's considered the most valuable U.S. coin?
What he asked, what's considered the most valuable U.S. coin? It's kind of a toss-up. It's kind of between a high-grade $1794, which is rated specimen 66, and the 1933 $20 gold piece, which 1933, the $20 St. Gaudens gold pieces were made. They sat in the hopper after they were made, and they put them in the vault, and then that's 1933 is when Franklin Roosevelt decided to stop all the gold. And so a lot of those were melted, however, some of them got away, and one of them ended up in London, and it was during a transaction between the dealer in London and somebody in America that the authorities got involved, and it went to court, and it was determined that that was legally received. And so that's the only 1933 $20 gold piece that's allowed to be sold. And it's sold, I think, for $18 million or something like that. There was a family, I think they discovered, okay. There was a family that had 10 of the 1933 St. Gaudens. Langborn family, I think their name was. Anyway, They had 10 of them in their safety deposit box, and that's been a battle going on with the courts for years, and I think right now the government has won, and they are not, those were never released, so, yeah. Those are the top two, I think, as far as values go. Okay, well, anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Jim, for